It appears Marvel Comics leadership realized that there's an entire movie universe based on their characters, and they might want to do something to somehow synergize with it beyond killing off the character right before they're about to make their big movie debut, which they've done several times at this point. With the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps film coming out, there's going to be a companion book, and it appears to be some type of prequel story setting up the stage for the origin of the Fantastic Four and where they are at the point when you actually get in the movie. It's going to come out a few weeks before that, and I don't know that this is going to work, but I'm shocked that they haven't tried this until now. It makes so much sense in the world, and I do hope, I really, really do hope that Marvel Studios just buy a lot of these and start giving them out at movie theaters. You know what I mean? Get some comic books into people's hands that have to do with the stuff that they're watching that's going to be popular. And let's see if they actually like comic books, because I do believe comic books is the best storytelling medium in the entire world. And it's time to get the word out. And it does feel like this is really late in the game to be doing this. You should have been doing this with the Avengers. When did the Avengers come out? Was that like 10 years ago at this point? It's been a long time, and they're finally going to do it for this Fantastic Four movie. Marvel Comics is making a major play at direct synergy with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. On July 2nd, 2025, they'll release Fantastic Four First Steps from Matt Fraction and Mark Buckingham just a few weeks before the Fantastic Four film hits theaters on July 25th. What makes First Steps unique is that it's the first Marvel comic officially set within the world of a specific MCU movie. Marvel has dabbled in film tie-ins before, but this marks a new, deeper integration between their publishing line and Hollywood adaptations. With major talent like Fraction and Buckingham behind it, Marvel clearly hopes to smooth the transition for moviegoers into comic shops, or at least build extra hype for the Fantastic Four's long-awaited cinematic relaunch. I don't know if I want to call Matt Fraction a major talent, but he's had some success in comic books, and that's better than a lot of people these days. Mark Buckingham, certainly a major talent. He's really, really good. So they put a really good artist in the book as well. And it's kind of neat. You know, you see the cover. It's certainly, you're seeing the other characters really from the movie universe in the comic book itself. It's kind of a neat thing. Me personally, I know this is kind of surprising because I'm much more of a DC guy and I love Superman. But seeing that first Fantastic Four First Steps trailer, like the first long one, and seeing what they've shown of Superman, I'm shockingly more interested in this Fantastic Four movie. Even with the stupid Shia LaBeouf stuff, even with the stupid Pedro Pascal stuff, it really feels like they hit all the right notes in that trailer. It really feels like they understand what the Fantastic Four is going to be like. The setting looks great. I love the look of Herbie. I think the Thing looks absolutely magnificent. It looks like freaking Jack Kirby drew him in the movie. That's how good he looks. His voice doesn't quite sound right, but that's fine because they got the look right. And I think there's a lot to build on as far as the momentum. I think people are kind of getting excited for this Fantastic Four movie. And it's the first time I think people have been excited for an MCU movie in a long time that doesn't just play completely on nostalgia and like cameos. Sure, Deadpool and Wolverine did amazing, but that was Wolverine from the Fox universe showing up in the MCU with the Deadpool also arriving from the Fox universe. It was kind of weird. You go back to Spider-Man No Way Home. Everybody knew that the other two Spider-Men from the Sony universes were going to be there, so it was a kind of a big deal. When you look at the other big movie that's kind of been successful, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, they had been talking about for months all these weird cameos that you were finally going to see John Krasinski finally come in as Reed Richards, the one that everybody kind of wanted the entire time, that you were going to get to see like the Illuminati, including Professor X from the X-Men movie franchises at Fox. So all the stuff that's really been successful thus far after Avengers Endgame is just all nostalgia and cameo bait. And I'm starting to get the impression that maybe Fantastic Four First Steps is going to overcome that and really be successful, or maybe be something more like what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 did, to where it did underperform initially at the box office. People are like, wow, it's not nearly as successful as it should have been based on the track record of the previous two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But the word of mouth was so good, and people are like, no, that's actually a really good movie, that it ended up doing really well in the end. So even if Fantastic Four First Steps doesn't do great opening-wise, and based off the track record of the MCU as of late, it's probably not going to do that. You know, Deadpool and Wolverine was like Fox Universe characters coming in and doing something completely different. It might have some legs to it if the word of mouth is good, and just looking at the trailer and what they're delivering, it fucking feels like Fantastic Four. And that could be a great thing to actually get people into comic book shops. They find out that, hey, there's a comic book with this version of the characters, with characters illustrated to look like the version of the Fantastic Four in the movie. Now, it would be better, I guess, if it was a series. That's kind of the problem with the one-shot. Especially as a comic book fan, it's not going to go anywhere. But as a bit of promotional material, not for the movie, but for comic books, I kind of hope that it's successful. I hope people take notice and they want to do something with it. But it does feel really late. They should have been doing this a long time ago, especially for their major releases, like their Avengers releases, their Captain America Civil War release. We're talking like they've had some major movies. Deadpool and Wolverine probably should have got some treatment like this. And maybe they would have been able to generate some interest in the comic books themselves, because while the MCU is certainly not at their all-time high and they're coming back down, they had that enormous window. And they never caught that lightning in a bottle where the MCU became the biggest movie franchise of all time. And somehow it never resulted in sales for Marvel Comics, not even in bookstores. People didn't even go to Barnes and Noble and go and find like a Iron Man trade to read, because Marvel just never capitalized on any of it. So it's really late, but I'm kind of glad they're doing it. But then as a comic book reader, it almost feels insignificant because it's not going to go anywhere. What am I going to read the comic book so I can know about what's going to happen in 40 years when they do another Fantastic Four movie? You know what I mean? I'm used to getting stuff every month. Doesn't really work there, but hopefully it gets some eyes on comic books and maybe put some asses in a comic book shop for people that actually like the movie. And I think I'm going to like that movie. I'm surprised. I'm shocked that I'm actually more interested in a Fantastic Four movie over a Superman movie. Not that the Superman stuff has looked bad, but the Fantastic Four stuff has looked really good. Fantastic Four First Steps from Marvel Comics will also shed light on key plot elements of the upcoming film. According to the first details and preview covers, the story is set 4 years after the Fantastic Four first gained their powers. This suggests the film won't waste time on a detailed origin story. The cover art also reveals that the comic will feature a modernized retelling of the team's first major battle against Mole Man's monsters, echoing the iconic cover of Fantastic Four #1 from 1961. It's a smart homage that might please longtime fans while providing newcomers with a fresh, accessible entry point into Marvel's first family. And I'm kind of relieved to learn that we're not going to get like the 45-minute Fantastic Four origin in this movie. I've already seen it a couple times. I get the concept. They go up to space, they get hit by cosmic radiation, and it gives them powers. And it sounds like if they don't do that, we won't have to tie in Doctor Doom's power set or origin with the Fantastic Four, which would be an enormous relief to a lot of people, including Doc. I think that's his biggest complaint about all this kind of stuff. But getting to see that they're probably going to rehash the very first issue of Fantastic Four, fighting the Mole Man and all of his mole monsters and all that kind of stuff would be kind of fun. Be interesting seeing those movie characters within that universe there. I'm hoping that we do get to see Mole Man in the movie. I think he's been cast. I believe he's a named cast member when you look at like IMDb and stuff like that. So it's highly likely we'll also get to see the Mole Man within the movie itself. But there's no way that he's going to be like the main villain. He'll probably be like some type of cameo or Easter egg for comic book fans, because obviously the main villain is going to be Galactus. It looks like they're doing, just based off the trailer, like Galactus trilogy from the Fantastic Four comic books, which is, a good place to start. Last time we saw Galactus in a movie, he was a big cloud. That didn't work. I don't think that made anybody happy. I want to see Galactus with this big, goofy freaking crown and pink and purple outfit and all that stuff, and all of his weird Jack Kirby freaking weird glory that he should be demonstrating on the big screen. And I want to see some Kirby crackle in that fucking movie too. I really play some real respect and put some respect on that name when it comes to the Fantastic Four. And, smart move going 4 years into the future. We don't need an origin story every single time. In fact, I'm a little bit burnt out on origin stories at this point. Now, some people might be wondering, does this mean we're going to get more synergy with Marvel and other things that are successful? They have successful video games. They got successful TV shows. They've got successful, mobile games, stuff like that. Are we going to start seeing more synergy between that? It doesn't appear that way, because take Marvel Rivals, for example, currently one of the hottest Marvel video games in years, propping up interest in many lesser-known characters. Yet, according to Marvel executive editor Tom Brevoort, there's little evidence that popularity in the game actually boosts interest in print comics. Brevoort stated, "I tend to think that popularity in Marvel Rivals likely has more to do with play mechanics than it does with the characters themselves. which is to say I haven't seen any major correlation between popularity in the game and a rise of interest in the character in print outside of maybe one or two outliers. While Marvel clearly sees value in movie synergy, Revort's comments show they remain skeptical that success in other formats like gaming translates into meaningful gains for the comic book publishing arm. You know what's weird? I've seen like the exact opposite of what Revort's stating. Sure, there's no increased interest in Squirrel Girl as a comic book character because there's no Squirrel Girl comic book coming out, and if there was, she wouldn't look like she does in Marvel Rivals. Sure, there's no increased interest in Galacticus or whatever the girl version of Galactus is, because there's no real book going out featuring that character. But if you're online and you're on social media, you're seeing Marvel characters, like sexy ass version of those Marvel characters, all over the place. Like people are doing their own like art and stuff with those characters, and there's clearly increased interest in them. And I am like almost jaw on the floor, like befuddled by Tom Revort saying, I think people are more interested in the game mechanics than my characters. If that's the way you feel about the characters, why the fuck are you at Marvel Comics still? If you don't think the biggest draw for Marvel Rivals is the characters and can't be convinced any other way, you shouldn't even be there, because those are your characters, man. You're the fucking steward. You're the one that's supposed to be championing those characters every step of the way. And when someone starts to say, no, it's the game mechanics, I created them, you know, it's because we have great, awesome game mechanics, Tom Revort should be the first person in line, like, you are an idiot. These are the best heroes and the best characters in the world. Without them, this couldn't have been successful. Like, he should be like up in arms defending the fact that Marvel has the best characters. And to say, no, it's game mechanics, it's not the characters that supposedly you know and love. It's such a weird statement as somebody that's invested so much of my life into comic books, like essentially 7 years straight into this stuff. It kind of makes me feel icky to know that somebody that doesn't even want to like lie to themselves and say it's solely the characters isn't in charge of Marvel Comics. Like, are you kidding me? You should be out there saying the only reason this Squirrel Girl is hot is because we had awesome artists, we had a good version of the character, and obviously you're playing with it and changing a little bit, but it's because we made the character that to begin with. So I would personally be doing something for Marvel Rivals. It's a big thing. It's culturally significant right now. Unfortunately, it does take about 6 months maybe of lead time to actually get something out on time when it comes to comic books. So maybe if they started a comic book in production today, by the time it came out, Marvel Rivals wouldn't even be a thing. But I would try and get on it. You know, it's clearly they're fans of it. They're fans that love that version of Squirrel Girl. Shockingly, we only told you this for 8 or 9 years. Yeah, Squirrel Girl that looks like she's got downs with buck teeth, not exactly the way to go. You should probably make her sexy again. Turns out we were right all along. But the more you read stuff like that, the more you're like, yeah, Rob was completely right. They need an entire change in the guard. It's not just like Dan Buckley and David Gabriel that need to go. It's fucking Tom Revort. It's CB Cebulski. It's all these old heads that don't understand and cannot adapt and change with the new industry and what people are even interested in. He can't even recognize this as a moment for a Marvel Comics character like a Squirrel Girl that hasn't been significant in like maybe ever, but like certainly like 15 years, longer than that. It's been that long since she was somebody that anyone even talked about in a positive light. And he's not jumping on top of it and trying to make sure that he takes advantage of what is, you know, kind of a cultural moment there for him.
With Marvel Rivals, people are coming in who aren't maybe familiar with the Marvel Universe, but they immediately are drawn to the look of a certain character, and then they play them, and if they like their playability, then they're into the character. Anybody who understands how to capitalize on things, which Tom Brevoort hasn't understood that in a very long time, knows that if you get that level of interest, they're interested in the visuals of the character, they like the way the character plays. They might be able to be enticed into liking that character's story, liking that character's adventures, looking them up. Sometimes when I see a character that's visually interesting to me, I go and I look them up. And then if their story's engaging, I become a fan of that character and I want to read more stories about them and I want to be engaged with that, with, you know, that universe that they're in. That is what happens when you know how to market things. Hey, Marvel Rivals is super popular right now. Why don't we try to do a little bit of, cross-connective tissue and pull some of those people into reading our comics? Unfortunately, Tom Brevoort probably knows on some level, since they don't hire anybody who's talented at Marvel anymore, that even if you drew in the Marvel Rivals people, you had people who were like, I really want to read a Cloak and Dagger series because I love them in the game. They're very popular. He would give them absolute dog shit and they wouldn't stick around. If you had any kind of knowledge or any kind of balls or any kind of interest in your job anymore, Tom Brevoort, you would be trying to court those Marvel Rivals players. You would be trying to turn them into readers, but you don't know how to capture readers anymore. All you know how to do is sit on your fat ass and be smug because you don't like your life, you don't like your job, and you're just waiting to die. You're just running out the clock on the career in your life because you're a miserable, old, out-of-touch piece of garbage. He thinks he can't be fired, he can't be let go, he can't be laid off no matter what happens. And the evidence suggests that he is right, because he continually comes out and says dumb shit that alienates the audience, that insults the customers, and he suffers no ramifications for it. He is basically a civil servant at this point. Marvel is like working for the government. And what we need a Doge for Marvel that goes in and says, wow, all of you suck at your job and you're tanking the company and you're not bringing in new readers. You're actually alienating old readers. You are completely unfit for this position. And thank you. Have a good day. Good luck in your future endeavors. Tom Brevoort should be future endeavored. Dan Buckley should be future endeavored. C.B. Cebulski should be future endeavored. Nick Lowe should be future endeavored. Get rid of all of this dead weight and remake Marvel and try and turn it into a profitable company. But because it is just a little tab on a spreadsheet in Disney's overall empire, it doesn't really matter. And F you, the customers. F you for liking these characters. F you for being interested in the Marvel Universe. You get nothing. They are basically John Cena-ing the entire Marvel universe right now, and they're saying to the readers, you get nothing. You want the marriage back with Peter and MJ? No, we won't give it to you. You want good, compelling stories of adventure and excitement? No, we won't give it to you. You know what you'll get? You'll get two characters sitting in a restaurant talking about their feelings for 20 pages until the goddamn artist wants to put a gun in his mouth. That's what you get from Marvel. You get nothing from us. We hate you. Give us your money, you stupid pay pigs.
I do appreciate your time. If you like what we're doing here on Think Critical YouTube and you'd like to support the mission, providing honest assessments, awesome reviews, honesty you can only get here on Think Critical YouTube. There is one place to do that, to support us. That's Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. There's a button right here, and I do hope to see you there very, very soon.